So welcome back to Dapp University. So we got a lot to talk about in today's stream. A ton of stuff's happened since we did our last stream on Friday. And the very first piece of topic that I want to discuss today is something that I've seen just absolutely blow up as I was checking social media this morning. People are getting really concerned about the Ethereum space right now. And so I want to talk about what I think about that, in the stream today as a blockchain developer works with Ethereum pretty much every single day, right? And a lot of other things too, like cryptocurrency prices, answer some of your questions. We do this live stream Monday through Friday about 9:30 a.m. Central Time. Of course, we're getting started a little bit late today. But, before we get into that, if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. And on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people in the question here. So Nardia, Natasha, Ryan, Togs, Abramo, awesome, welcome. So let's take a look at the first big piece of news today. Well, it's not news, it's people talking about this online. And this is something that's got a lot of people concerned. We talked about it on some of my channel before, but I want to revisit this topic because it's really the top of a lot of people's mind right now, which is what is going on with Binance Smart Chain. Okay, so we saw the price of BNB token rise like crazy over the weekend to where it's nearing pretty close to it's approaching almost half of Ethereum's market cap. Okay, I mean not quite, but we're getting close. Okay, especially on the trajectory that it's going on right now. So this has got a lot of people wondering. We have seen, projects like PancakeSwap get really successful lately. We've seen other apps poured over to Binance Smart Chain. And, people are talking about this online. They're saying, is this bad for ETH? Is this a game over? Is this a nail in the coffin type scenario? There are people talking about, other rival blockchains doing the same types of thing, coming at it from all angles. And so I want to weigh in on exactly what I think about this because, we talked about it a little over a month ago when we saw BNB really start to take off like crazy. And so kind of revisit this topic. What do I think about it now? Because I think the game has changed somewhat. I mean, I think that Binance Smart Chain has, gained a lot of traction. It got more users than I think a lot of people were anticipating. We saw a lot more adoption than people were anticipating. So what does this mean for the whole space? What does it mean for ETH? So let's go back and revisit like what is Binance Smart Chain in the first place in case, you're not familiar. So I talk about this a lot on my channel. So I want to clear it up. So basically, Binance Smart Chain is a smart contract platform that is a fork of Ethereum. So it works basically just like Ethereum under the hood, but essentially, it's a copy of Ethereum. So it's basically the same code that runs the Ethereum virtual machine that powers the Ethereum network right now. And essentially what happens is they reduce the number of validators inside the blockchain itself and basically decrease the amount of time that it takes for a transaction to go through. And also, the cost of that transaction is also affected by that. So basically, it results in a smart contract platform that is cheaper to use and faster. Okay. So what are the trade-offs here? Well, we talked about a lot on my channel, but I'll kind of catch you back up to things on how exactly this works. If you're trying to make a blockchain work, you have several things to worry about. We're talking about scaling. That's what really we're talking about when we're talking about the speed and also the cost of each transaction. So we talk about the scalability trilemma, and essentially there's three different things you have to worry about: decentralization, security, and scalability. Okay, so you can see that here on my screen here: decentralization, security, scalability. So in a lot of ways, basically that's what Binance Smart Chain does. Is it makes Ethereum faster by reducing this right here. It basically takes it down to a set of about 21 validators instead of Ethereum's, many more validators than that, or miners than that run the network right now, and makes things faster. So that puts us in a question: do people actually care about decentralization, or they just care about fees? So that's the question that we talked about before, and I think it's one that's coming up again. I think the market is showing a lot of people that many players, they just care about the fees, right? They care about, well, it's not just about the fees, it's about the ability to come in and speculate and make gains. Okay, so this matters a lot right now during a bull market for sure, when the price of tokens are going up that don't necessarily have a lot of use case and adoption, like just little tokens that people speculate on. So if we were in a bear market, this wouldn't necessarily work as well, I don't think. Okay, I mean, Binance Smart Chain's been around for a while. It's not brand new, so I think that thesis holds up. So I think it works a lot right now because we are in a bull market, because new tokens hitting the scene will go up in value, and people are able to trade those in a more decentralized way, or like a no KYC or less. Yeah, I mean it's hard to that's not entirely right. Basically, what I'm saying is, if we're in a bull market and new coins are hitting the dexes, and those coins are able to go up in value, people wouldn't be doing that as much in a bear market as they are in a bull market. So that's one of the reasons I think we're having success in this right now. So the fees are low and people are able to do that. So those are the big reasons that people are using this platform right now. Okay. So versus Ethereum, where we have decentralization, it's slow, it's less scalable, but we do have a more decentralized way to build these applications. So at the end of the day, people who are chasing, sort of short-term gains, these fast flips, they don't really care about decentralization, because a lot of the activity is a lot more like gambling, right, than it is some other like financial-based use case. Of course, a lot of traditional finance is also gambling, right? But I'm saying we're going out on the risk curve here, so they don't care so much about that. I think the market's showing us that large part of the market doesn't care about decentralization as many people think they are. Okay, so on the Ethereum side of things, you have to think about it. Who the users are. So the users, in this one sense, that's a pretty good profile over here. But if you're talking about a different financial system where big institutions actually want to build financial infrastructure or financial applications on neutral infrastructure, okay, let's talk about like interbank settlement or something like that. That's where decentralization actually really does become very valuable, okay? So I know I'm taking a couple minutes to make my point here, but that's one thing that I want to talk about, which is, if you have, think about it this way. Think about the two different participants in the cryptocurrency markets today anyway. I talk about a lot on my channel, how basically if a bunch of individuals or retail investors come in and buy up a cryptocurrency, they can move the market. They take a lot of them to move the market, basically. Whereas if institutions come in and buy up cryptocurrency, one Tesla can come up and buy $1.5 billion for the cryptocurrency and move the needle a lot faster than a bunch of smaller individuals coming in and doing the same type of thing. Okay, so I think the same is going to be true for sort of the decentralized world. Okay, so we saw earlier this year how Visa starting to settle transactions on top of Ethereum. We started to see lots of other institutions experiment with technology and use Ethereum in the same way. That's going to be a big part of their decision-making process, because they are ultimately a user of the blockchain in that space. They're a company that wants to build on top of blockchain to use it and to actually create applications that their end users can use. So that is going to matter to them, all right? The fact that they can build on something where there's not this massive amount of central control that can determine the outcome of their product, that is going to be a factor in their decision making. So that being said, when we live in a world where we have layer 2 scaling solutions built on top of Ethereum that can enable things like faster transactions, cheaper fees, all that type of stuff, where they can then bridge over to these and use these products that these companies who care about the decentralized infrastructure can use, then that's the best trade-off right there. So at the end of the day, people are right when they say, I know it's taking me a while to make this point, but here's the point that I want to drive home. Sure, most people who are out there just trying to flip tokens on a DEX don't care that much about decentralization. But people who build products for longevity will care about decentralization. And when they have built a product that is so good that it attracts people to use it, the users who don't care, the end user doesn't care about decentralization, their incentive is to use this product that's been built for longevity on a platform that is decentralized. This business cared about it and they provided the benefits, and that attracted the users over. So that's what I think is really important to see here for the long term. Now, that means that Binance Smart Chain is not going away. I'm also not a hater of Binance Smart Chain. I'll be very clear about that on this channel. I just want people to know exactly what it is and what it does. So when we're talking about the scalability trilemma, know that there is a sacrifice of decentralization. I'm here about educating people, letting them know like what the reality is underneath. I've even showed people how to do smart contracts on Ethereum over to something like Binance Smart Chain, so you can test it out with users. I mean, that's one of the beauties of it. And that's one of the reasons it makes it take off so fast, is because essentially you can just take existing Ethereum smart contracts, move them over, because the virtual machine works the same way under the hood. So another reason that Binance Smart Chain has taken off so much is because of just Binance itself being able to aggressively funnel users into the smart chain itself, because they have the ability to do that marketing. They have the exchange on ramp, all that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that I think is going to be big for ETH long term, for ETH 2.0 and also layer 2s, is exchange support to basically instantly transfer people onto the platform itself. So those are my thoughts on the matter. I want to address that first in the video today, because I've seen a lot of people like talking about this online. People are kind of like freaked out, like what's going to happen. I think this caught a lot of people by surprise, the fact that this cryptocurrency price has gone up so much. And I think a lot of people are sitting here wondering like, hey, what's happening with the Ethereum cryptocurrency? Why isn't it going up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, don't forget, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the crypto markets that just doesn't, it's hard to predict. Like they don't work. They don't like work. They don't work like you think they will. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words a little tired this morning, but yeah, there will be a lot of things that catch you by surprise. I think this is one of them. So let's look at the rest of crypto markets. We'll look at the Bitcoin price. So big picture here, as always, and I'm a big trader, not a big TA guy, just looking at the stuff that I currently own, the overall markets, and try to get a sense of, hey, should I be taking money off the table, putting more money in, all that kind of stuff? Are we at the top of some long-term cycle? All that kind of stuff. So it was a good weekend. We've seen, sometimes we come in here on Mondays, it is not a good weekend because people have been trading with leverage, and we see blow-ups and all that kind of stuff. We saw some new all-time highs. So let's see, was it, I know we saw an Ethereum all-time high, I'll go to that in a second, but did we actually see a Bitcoin all-time high? What was the 61.7? So no, it doesn't look like quite did. We might have. I don't know for sure. Let's look for ETH as well. So ETH, yeah, we did hit an all-time high on ETH. So that's awesome. So of course, BNB, excuse me, went on an absolute tear last weekend. All right, so if y'all have been into BNB, let me know in the comment section down below. So we look at the past 30-day chart on BNB, or even the 90-day, is absolutely crazy. I mean, we were at $41, and we're up to $5.88. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I think this was something that caught a lot of people by surprise. So, I mean, Binance is strong. They got a lot of money. They've been innovating really fast. So we're going to look at some more news here in a second about what Binance has been doing. I think that's got a strong correlation with the success of their coin here. So let's look at some on-chain metrics really quickly. Kind of look at where I think we are with the... sorry, I logged into my account here. Where we are at the market. So we're going to look at, really quickly, an explanation of on-chain metrics and why I like them. I talk about this a lot in my videos, but I like to re-educate people, which is basically, talk about technical analysis and looking at charts and trying to, determine patterns and look at volume, all that kind of stuff, to see what the markets are doing, where they're headed. But a lot of people love that stuff. I don't rely that much on TA for a couple reasons. One, I'm not really a skilled at TA. The other reason is I like to look at on-chain activity. One, because I work with blockchain a lot, so there's value to me in actually seeing clearly what's happening on the chain itself and deriving insights from that. You can see how many people are profitable in the Bitcoin markets, how long have they held their coins, all that kind of stuff. Are they going to exchanges? To kind of get a big picture of what's people's actual attitude towards the currency itself. And that's the beauty of the transparency of the blockchain to me, one of the use cases. So we can look at one of the metrics that I check pretty regularly on this channel during these live streams is, let's see here, is the Nupal chart. So I'll pull that up here. This is the net unrealized profit and loss. So this is basically taking a look at the entire Bitcoin blockchain and trying to see, trying to derive some insights to see how much the network's in profit or net unrealized profit relative to the net unrealized loss. Short story here is, long story short, is anytime you get an area of blue, that's bad. Typically indicates some sort of long-term top here. But yeah, our Newport chart, we're making lots more headroom. I think this is good because this is what happens when the markets get a little bit boring. Okay, the markets have been a little bit boring in terms of Bitcoin, ETH, and some of the larger cap coins because we've seen some sideways chop, some short-term bearishness, all that kind of stuff. That's actually really good. It gives us more headroom to rise because the farther away we get from this, the higher we can potentially go. Okay, and don't forget, whenever we see this sort of chop, it basically changes the ratio of where we are with Newport according to the actual price. So here you can see Newport's at 0.69, okay, at $50,000, and here Newport's at 0.69 at $60,000. So it's a healthier Newport metric at a higher price, which essentially gives us more headroom to ride up an increase in price. Basically, it theoretically extends the bull market, assuming that we actually do, continue up and move into that euphoria territory at some point, which there's no guarantee we will. I think we will, but there's no guarantee that we will. You got to think about these things in terms of probability and likelihood. So let's look at another thing here. So we talked about Binance. Let's see here. So how about the Binance? One of the reasons they're so successful is they're always launching new innovations. Of course, their Binance exchange is super successful, and one of the things that they are talking about is launching tradable stock tokens in Tesla. Okay, so tokenized equities. So I haven't looked into this much. I just saw this come up on my feed here, so we can kind of go through this and talk about it. Let's see here. So this is one application of blockchain that I think is going to be big, and this looks like they're just talking about doing it on their exchange. I haven't seen exactly how it works under the hood. I'll have to deep dive on this more. But let's talk about it as a sort of theoretical side note. So full disclosure here, I'm not exactly sure how Binance is doing it under the hood, but let's just talk about this as a use case for blockchain technology in general. So essentially, tokenized trading of equities or stocks. Okay. So basically, one of the big benefits of blockchain technology is the ability to make faster settlement and transparent settlement, so that you can see, you can verify that transfers actually happened on the blockchain itself. That's one of the benefits, transparency, and doing it quickly. Okay. So, and time is money in that case, where you can actually close out of trades, get your money in and out really fast. Okay. So that's one benefit of blockchain technology, is you could essentially tokenize stocks. Let's say that there were stocks that you want to earn fractions of that didn't have like a stock split or something like that. You could do that. You could break it up into smaller amounts on blockchain or something like that. You could take stocks and now stake them in DeFi. You could do all kinds of stuff that aren't currently possible in the traditional financial system. Of course, you can lend your stocks out and that kind of stuff in traditional finance. But I'm talking about basically taking actual tokenized stocks and then like doing other things with them in blockchain is a whole new can of worms that could get pretty crazy. So anyways, I think one of the biggest hurdles to this is regulation, right? One of the reasons that DeFi moves so fast is because it's unregulated, and you can do all this crazy stuff with DeFi. Just with cryptocurrencies. You see this all the time. Like, we're doing options trading, but we're just doing it with cryptocurrencies. We're, doing all these other yield farming. We're just doing it with cryptocurrencies. Part of that's because you can do it without having to overcome regulatory hurdles. Okay. So there's barriers to saying, okay, now I can just buy some Tesla stock on this DeFi app and then go stake it over here on PancakeSwap and earn yield on it or something like that. So we're not quite there yet. So anyways, that's a little bit of a tangent, but it's coming back to this this news here about Binance launching tradable stock with Tesla. Okay. So let's say each digital token represents one share of equity stock and is fully backed by a depository portfolio of underlying securities that represents the outstanding tokens. Users will be able to trade fractional tokens. So that's what I was talking about a minute ago. So that's one thing that's going to be a big use case, is for people who don't want to buy, an entire share. That's an advantage. Trading of digital stocks will be commission free. Okay. So yeah, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. So another thing to think about in terms of technology, and I saw this chart actually floating around in a different video the other day, but I wanted to bring it up, which I think it's an important model to understand how blockchain innovation works, how cryptocurrency markets work. Which is the, take a look at it here. It's the Gartner hype cycle. Okay. So I've talked about a lot of different models on this channel that sort of help you understand the nature of, technological innovation. But one is the Gartner hype cycle. Okay. And this is just important to understand to see how people's psychology works when they're interacting with new technology. So basically, this is a really good chart. So essentially, you can see this. What is this? This is the visibility of the new technology, and that's the y-axis is, and the x-axis is time. So you see basically people, this is the peak of inflated expectations. So this is the technology trigger. So basically, let's say this is when the first demo of some amazing new technology comes out. This is the peak of inflated expectations, where people, their exuberance is really high as the visibility goes up. Okay. And then, we see this massive trough. Okay. So slope of enlightenment and then plateau of productivity. And this is where sort of the slow rise happens, where the real value creation takes place. So you can actually see this reflected in something like Google Trends, for example. So let's look at here. All right, so let's just look at the Google Trends for the word Bitcoin. And you can kind of see, like, you can try to use some actual data to determine where are we in this hype cycle. Was 2017 sort of this peak right here? Well, let's actually take a look. So, it looks, you can see that pattern play out a little bit, right? Where basically we had this massive, peak, a huge dump, and then we start to see some, progress here. Now, the Google Trends aren't a perfect example of this, all right? But you can look at some of this. The only reason I pull up Google Trends is because we're talking about visibility here. So visibility and Google Trends, visibility, people saying it, Googling it, all that kind of stuff in time. But you can layer other keywords. You can layer like, let's see, cryptocurrency. All right, you can look up Ethereum. Oops, that didn't work. It may have a problem showing this right now. You can pull up other keywords like, Ethereum, which it's back, and it's back towards all-time highs. So this is not a perfect example, but you could look at a bunch of keywords, kind of average them to kind of see where people are doing this. But one of the reasons this is important is kind of trying to think about, like, what's going to happen long term with the technology. What's going to happen long term with the markets? Does visibility correlate with price? Does technological utility correlate with price? All that kind of stuff. And I do think there's something to this where we kind of had this peak somewhat in 2017, where there's all kinds of expectations, and the expectations didn't really fulfill, and we sort of have this plateau productivity. Now, again, this is an imprecise model. There would be a lot more variation in this. Like, maybe this plateau of productivity still has, cycles in it. But I think this is closer to what has happened in the past. And I personally think that we're more on this side of things than being right here. Now, you can maybe apply it to different time frames, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as someone who was here last time and saying what we could and could not do, right, in this trough here, which I would consider this like 2018, 2019, maybe this is sort of like where maybe 2020 started in here, and now we're like in here in 2021. I feel like we're in this plateau of productivity that we could break out of this plateau sort of as we achieve better scalability something like ETH 2.0, for example, and we could even see it at some point, in my opinion, break out of even exceed this right here. So not financial advice, as always, but this is a helpful model to kind of understand how these things work. All right, so I got some questions in the chat here. So somebody says, I bought ETH at $300 so far. I'm good in the green. I think I'll be good for a while. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the other thing. People like super freaked out about ETH. If you've been watching this channel since last year or even before, I mean, I've been doing these videos for since the beginning of 2018. You had plenty of chances to buy ETH at like, $150. If you bought ETH at $150, you'd be doing pretty well. Now, of course, there'd be lots of people who are like, yeah, but if you bought Binance coin, you'd be up a lot more. Totally true. But yeah, not too worried long term here. Somebody says ETH has no issue. Yep. Somebody says investment funds and banks are buying ETH. I think we're all good. Yeah, I think so. That's what I was saying a minute ago. I think the institutions are big for ETH, not just in terms of investors buying the asset itself, but the people who are actually going to build on top of it. I do think that people who are building for longevity, who are actually who will get some utility out of decentralization, will make choices to build on top of Ethereum, okay? Assuming all things equal, assuming that Ethereum has fast transactions and fast settlement and low fees, which it can achieve with Ethereum 2.0 and also layer 2 scaling solutions. So if that's equal across chains, and then the decentralization factor is there, and big players want to build something for the long term, they're going to build it on neutral, decentralized infrastructure because it's a core value proposition of the technology. Okay, if you're building a USDC, for example, you want to build it in that way. Okay, and yeah, that's gonna. And that's basically going to incentivize users to use a chain where they have rich network effects, where they can, use those applications. Does BNB have all the same features as ETH? It works like Ethereum under the hood, but it does not have the same feature of decentralization. Let's look here. Any views on Compound? So, yeah, if you wonder about the technology itself, I mean, I don't have any views on what's going to happen with the token for Compound. So Compound's a savings lending app. It's one of the OG DeFi apps. I remember, I'll tell you a cool story here. I mean, I remember when I saw Compound Finance for the first time. I think it was in the summer of 2019. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. Because don't forget, like, well, you may not even been around at this point, but I mean, when we first had smart contracts on Ethereum, we of course we had ICOs, we had tokens, and we thought, oh, this is the killer app. I mean, like, this is awesome. We can do all these crazy fundraisers. But then after the bull market of 2017 ended, and it was pretty clear that we were in a bear market in like 2018, 2019. People were still kind of scratching their heads, like going, okay, so what do we do now? Like, what are we going to build with this stuff? Now, we already have people who are really early in DeFi already exploring that stuff and answering those questions, but there were only literally a few people, like less than a dozen people who had that foresight at that point in time. But we started building DeFi back then, okay, and it started to slowly gain traction. And I remember when I saw Compound for the first time, I think it was in, like I said, I think it was in like the summer. I think it was summer 2019, maybe a little earlier than that. It was a huge aha moment for me. I was sort of like, oh, okay, this is it. You know what I mean? So Compound's an awesome project. Of course, they've been talking about their plans of Compound Chain. Again, not sure. I don't have any price prediction on the Compound token or anything like that, but it's a super solid project. Super early leader in the DeFi space. Somebody says, how soon can we expect a meaningful update to Ethereum fees? So it's a good question. Uniswap version 3 is slated for launch next month in May. Okay. The original publication was talking about that being shortly after, like maybe a few weeks after or a week after. Being able to use layer 2 scaling with optimism for Uniswap v3. So if that's true and that doesn't get pushed back, that means sometime in the middle of May, we could see low fees on something like Uniswap layer 2 for Ethereum. So that's about a month away. I I don't want to try to get too many people's hopes up because I was super excited about the Optimism launch in March and that didn't happen. So yeah, if this is true, then basically about a month from now. But that's not necessarily widely adopted. More widely adopted is other layer 2s allowing people to freely build on their platforms. And that would be later in the summer, in my opinion. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these out. Some more people learn about blockchain. If you like these videos, you're as fascinated with this technology, then how can you get your hands dirty today? You go to my YouTube homepage. You can find any of my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. If you like those, you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely. I should become a blockchain master step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, you don't have to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.